It's simple. Respect the ocean, enjoy the ride, and never, ever, ever run out of sunscreen. Welcome to the Blue Top Podcast. We are Sofia and Ariana Jewelewicz, twin sisters and co-founders of Blue Top Legend, Blue Top Yachting, and Blue Top Performance. This is where we dive into all things yachting, maritime marketing, and running a business on and off of the water. From insider tips to stories that inspire, we're here to help you navigate success. Today's episode is all about quick tips and practical advice. We'll be running through everything from boat essentials to rookie mistakes and the unbreakable rules that we live by on the water. Arna, what is one must-have item that you cannot go without on any boat that you go on? Based on all of our previous episodes, I feel like most people would be able to guess this, but I would definitely say a trash bin. It is so important to have some sort of bin that people can throw away their trash. If every single boat had that, the amount of litter that we would see in the intercoastal, in the ocean, in the lake would be substantially less. Whether it be throwing away your banana peels or throwing away your water bottles or your beer cans, whatever it might be, have a trash bin on the boat. Even if you don't produce trash, someone else on your boat will, or you might find a piece of trash floating in the water that you could pick up if you're feeling like a good person. We have definitely seen the big impact that could have. We didn't always have a trash bin on the boat, and to be quite honest, we still don't. We usually just toss trash in one of our compartments in the boat, where we usually have a bag to put it in and just toss it when we get home. We see so much trash. There's definitely days where there's more, but even if we're strolling in the intercoastal, we always come across at least one plastic bag in the water and one plastic bottle. Usually there's also beer cans floating or beer bottles at the bottom of the lake. There's a wide variety of trash that we could see. A lot of the times it's also large wood panels from construction. Having a trash bin is the number one must-have item that I would say every single boat should come with, and if it doesn't come with it, add it. If I could add one more, it would be a personal flotation device. PFDs are so important, and we've only come to realize their importance even more given our platform and the wide reach that we have. We definitely didn't prioritize them in the beginning. We would go out in the ocean without PFDs, really without anything, and just go full send it. And while we still might do that, it's typically on the days that are flat out and we're going to go diving, so we don't want a PFD because obviously to dive you need to be able to go under the water. But we've always been good about it with tubing, with wakeboarding, anything that requires it, we've always done it. The thing that we had to get better about was absolutely wearing it on the rougher days in the ocean, and we have. Now, when there's whitecaps out there, when it's higher than 2 or 3 feet, we will absolutely wear a PFD every time we go out there. It's so important, I can't stress it enough. Regardless of how amazing you think you are at driving a boat, controlling a boat, the water is unpredictable. You never know what can happen, especially in the ocean when a wave can come from a side that you don't see. You just never know. Or even if you fall out of the boat. A PFD is so important. And on that same note, having a kill switch attached to you, equally important. Again, you never know what can happen. And being given our platform, we've only realized the increased importance in doing that because we're able to stress the importance of these things, which could potentially prevent something very bad from happening, whether it be with us or with someone else. Now, on that same note, everyone should have flares on the boat. This is something that our dad stressed very early on. He made sure when we got that first boat, he got us 3 brand new packs of flares. When they got wet, when our boat was submerged halfway, he got us even more. It is so important because, again, you don't know what's going to happen. If for some odd reason, somehow, even in Boca Raton, where there's no place to get stranded that's away from anyone, being that we don't really go too far out into the ocean, it's still important to have flares. Navigation lights as well. We don't really go out at night because it is pretty dangerous. You really can't see. Nav lights aren't that bright, but it can be the little thing that prevents a collision from happening. Even if you're going slow, a collision can very drastically harm your boat. It can harm you. So, recapping, I highly encourage a trash bin, a PFD, flares, and nav lights. On a less serious note, though, I do think it's very important to have water out on the boat. We stay out there for hours on end, as most people do, whether it be on the lake or in the ocean tubing or just fishing, whatever it might be. Hydrate. Water is so important. It is makes up the majority of your body, and especially on a hot summer day, you will be sweating. Sunscreen is equally important. We've only learned that even more with our platform. Being out in the sun all day, you need to protect your skin, whether that's wearing a UV protection shirt, which we are offering on our website. Go check those out. They are amazing. We have a hooded fishing tee as well as a non-hooded fishing tee, so we have an option for everyone. Sunscreen and gear that protects you from UV light is so important. Obviously, when you take off your shirt, put some sunscreen on, protect your skin, and a hat in the same sense, protect your face, protect your eyes. I know that with me and Sophia, our eyes tend to get very sunburnt. They get very red after a day out on the water, and that's definitely not the most healthy for your eyeballs. So protect your vision. I highly encourage you to bring water, a hat, and sunscreen. For me, one must-have item that I cannot go without, and I know that I can speak for both of us, would be our diving goggles. Ariana and I each have a pair. We usually carry 3 on the boat in case someone else comes along, but we have each our own pair. Both are pink. No question about it. Those are the one item that I cannot go without. We're always on the water and we're always jumping in. Like Ariana said, if you know us, we will be in the water. It's not just about cruising, it's about embracing the ocean and fully experiencing everything that the ocean has to offer. Having one pair of diving goggles on board per person, it is such a game changer, especially with the amount of times that I have gotten a rope stuck in the prop. At that point in our lives, we never had diving goggles on the boat. That would be such an incredible item to have on the boat at that period of time. If you need to check your prop and cut a rope, which we also did not have scissors on the boat at that time, keep diving goggles on your boat. You never know when you're going to need them. If you're checking your prop, you want to jump in before anchoring to make sure you're not anchoring on a reef, or just jumping in to swim with the fish and cool off. A pair of goggles lets you see underwater with total clarity, and Ariana and me both, we can open our eyes underwater, but sometimes you like to be able to fully see because I don't know if it's a normal thing that you can open your eyes underwater, but when you do it, you can't fully see the clarity that the ocean has to offer. You can't fully see fish in 4K vision. It's blurry, which makes sense because you're opening your eyes underwater. It's kind of similar to when you open your eyes underwater in a pool. Having those goggles, it gives you GoPro vision, and Ariana and I definitely want to start bringing a GoPro on the boat so we can share everything that we're seeing out diving with everyone else. And let's be honest, sooner or later, something is going overboard, whether it be our shirts, which I tend to lose a lot, a can of sunscreen, which we will always get, someone's phone, something's always going to go overboard. And when that happens, having a pair of goggles really can make that one difference between a quick recovery and a lost pair of sunglasses or a lost phone or who knows what. Goggles are compact, they're easy to store, and they add a whole new level of adventure to any of our boating trips. We stick them in the cooler because we don't keep anything else in the cooler besides one life jacket and 1,000 bottles of sunscreen, because at the end of the day, being a legend on the water is not just about a boat, it's about how you use it. And if you know me and Ariana, you know that we are constantly spreading word about skin safety and sunscreen. Among all of my friends, I'm known as the person that carries reef safe sunscreen constantly. Like we said, if we're on the boat, we're going to be diving in. We're going to be going in the water, whether it's free diving, checking out a reef, or just jumping in to cool off. Jumping in the water makes you part of the ocean. It's such a big part of boating, and the one thing that we can never go without, as we mentioned, goggles, but reef safe sunscreen. Reef safe specifically, emphasis on that. We are looking to partner with a sunscreen brand. Some have even told us to make our own sunscreen brand. Options are open. Anyone who's spent time with us knows if you forget your sunscreen, don't worry because we've got you covered literally. We're taking at least 10 bottles on board with us at all times, no excuses. If I fall below 10, even 9, you best bet I'm ordering at least 9 more. Why? Because protecting your skin is so important, but protecting the ocean is just as critical. Regular sunscreens contain chemicals that damage the ocean. It damages coral reefs, which we learned about in our environmental science class. It disrupts the marine ecosystem and harms the waters that Ariana and I love to explore, as does everybody else. Reef Safe sunscreen lets us enjoy the sun without leaving the negative impact behind. We're constantly preaching, pick up your trash, pick up after yourself. If you see trash in the water, pick it up. The same goes for not damaging the ocean. Put on your Reef Safe sunscreen. It's the difference of maybe $1 or two. Yes, cheap sunscreen is cheap, but it's not as effective, it's not as safe for the oceans, and we need to protect the oceans that we're constantly talking about. Plus, let's be real, nothing ruins a great day on the water like a brutal sunburn, and a lot of our friends don't wear sunscreen and they come the next day completely red, fried. We're in and out of the water constantly, and reef safe sunscreens are made to hold up while we dive and swim. So, whether we're free diving a reef or jumping in to swim or even kicking back on the boat, sunscreen is a non-negotiable part of any boat day that we have. It's simple. Respect the ocean, enjoy the ride, and never, ever, ever run out of sunscreen.
Absolutely love that. It's so important, like I was explaining, to have sunscreen. We've only learned that even more with creating this business and constantly being out on the water and out in the sun. You want to protect your skin because ultimately, as much as it can regenerate and recycle itself, because your skin does that, you want to protect it because you don't want to damage those lower layers of your skin. Going back to what Sophia said about the goggles, though, I absolutely love that you mentioned that as one of the must haves on the boat. When we were on the boat last weekend at a mini rafta, one of our friends dropped a pliables cap, which is just a little acai bowl shop at the beach. A couple of them went and got pliables, and one of them actually dropped the cap in the water, and of course it sank. Now, the lake was not that shallow where we were, so if you didn't have goggles, good luck finding that. It's a clear cap that is very difficult to spot in a blurry ocean when you don't have goggles. Luckily, I quickly grabbed the goggles and was able to jump in right under the boat and found it. If I didn't have those, it would have stayed there as long as I could have looked for it. I really don't think I would have found it because it blended in so perfectly with the water. Goggles are a must have, whether it be for picking up that trash that, like Sophia said, will drop. It is never not going to happen. Someone's going to drop something. It's usually sunglasses. Another important must have that I think everyone should have on their boat is zip ties. This is something that used to come in handy so much with the old blue top with that 13-foot. We would constantly be zip tying the flags back onto the flagpoles. We would be zip tying random railings that would fall off. We would be zip tying the cooler back down when those straps fell off. It was constantly being used. At one point, our boat was mostly zip ties. Obviously, it is a temporary replacement, but it does come in handy so much because you never know when you're going to need them. And on that same note, like Sophia mentioned before, scissors. You never know when you'll need scissors, whether it's for actually having to cut something or dealing with a first aid kit and you have to cut a wrap. You never know when you'll need scissors, but you definitely will. Scissors are one of the first things that we had on that 13-foot boat. We have a pair as well on the 16-foot. Without scissors, I definitely do not know what I would have done in those situations. Scissors are a must have. Do you have anything else you want to add, Sofa?
I do. I think we should just stick to this one question considering we're already almost out of time. Thoughts?
Most likely, it probably isn't a quick answer question, but I did give my must have item as a trash bin, so I'm gonna credit myself for that. We just have a couple more options to offer.
I think my must have would be the sunscreen. I can't decide between sunscreen and diving goggles, but I think all of my friends would safe to say that my must have is sunscreen. Another one, if we really want to go there, would be music. And as simple as it sounds, there's no question. If we're cruising anchored up or just hanging out at Lake Boca, music totally sets the vibe. A boat without music feels off. And that's why if your boat doesn't have built-in speakers, you need to bring a portable one. No excuses. On our old boat, when our speakers constantly failed, Ariana and I were constantly bringing a new portable speaker and breaking it, and then bringing a new one and breaking it. And the same went for this boat. When our speakers broke before we knew International Marine, we were constantly bringing a portable speaker. Now we're lucky enough to have 8 JBL audio speakers on board thanks to the legends at International Marine. So our sound is basically always crisp and clear and extremely loud, loud enough to compete with the wind and waves and everybody else at Lake Boca that's also blasting their tunes. There's nothing like blasting your favorite playlist, which we have a pretty legendary one, while running the boat at full throttle, or dancing at the lake, or floating in the lake with friends. Ariana and I like to do this thing where we just float in the lake with our backs to the water and just sit there listening to the music. It's nice because you can hear the music, you can also hear underwater, and it's saltwater, so you literally float. It's insane, and we love doing it. Music is part of the adventure, it's part of the experience. It turns the most simple ride and simple boat day into a total adrenaline rush. And if you know us, you know that we love to seek the adrenaline. Turns a sunset cruise into a memory whenever we're riding home after an awesome boat day, talking about the day that we had, talking about the day that we're going to have tomorrow. And it turns any day on the water into a total vibe. If you're getting a top tier sound system or just a solid waterproof speaker, emphasis on solid, make sure that you don't leave the dock without it because the throttle is not the only thing that we turn up. You need music for your boat days and you need good music. And we have a pretty stellar playlist. A lot of people have asked us to share it. I don't know if we're ever going to share it because it's a little bit controversial. The music that we dance to. I know people love to see dancing videos. They love to see us hang out at the lake. But our playlist is definitely one with an acquired taste. You have to be a very specific type of human to be able to appreciate our playlist.
It just has such a wide variety of music in there. There's country music, there's traditional boat songs, there's hard rock, there's white girl music. It's not one genre, it's a whole variety. There's also some Spanish dancing songs. It's kind of crazy, but it really sets the vibe and it keeps it interesting. No one gets bored of it.
I think we also have Christmas karaoke on there. We definitely have some Mariah Carey on there. We have Red Kingdom on there. Our playlist will make you go through probably 12 different moods throughout 12 different songs. So you have to be able to adapt very quickly. But with us, we're constantly dancing and have the time of our lives. And usually, whenever we go to a wrap up, we are placed on aux because everyone knows us as having sunscreen, as we said, and also the best playlist. Thanks for joining our quick tips episode, even though we only got through one question. Stay tuned for our next one because it's definitely getting interesting. We hope these essentials keep you safe, prepared, and completely stylish out on the water.
That's it for this episode of the Blue Top Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We loved having you on board.
Make sure to follow us on social media for more behind the scenes moments and updates from Blue Top Legend, Blue Top Yachting, and Blue Top Performance. And remember, we're all about navigating excellence and anchoring trust.
Don't forget to keep that throttle pinned.
And as always, don't touch my throttle. We'll see you next
See you
time.
next